Hi, my name is Tim Knizner, president of GameSlun Studios, the only game dev company you and your friends eventually take over by leveling up your gaming skills in your own way. Ready, player one? Let's get started. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about some things I recently learned in the academic space on gamification and how we might apply those things to marketing our games. I'm going to keep it pretty short because I'm not a psychologist and I'm not a marketer, but I am an engineer who works in innovation, and I am used to diving into new disciplines and coming up with success. That's kind of my whole thing. But you should know I'm not an expert, but if you are an expert, be sure to write how wrong I am in the comments and share this video with your friends to gloat about it. And if this video is helpful to you, grow your own sphere of influence by sharing it with your feed. So it starts with that tagline at the top of the video: the only game dev company you and your friends eventually take over by leveling up your gaming skills in your own way. Be honest, did that pique your interest? Was there something in the back of your brain saying, that sounds like fun? Did you want to learn more? Log that thought for a second. I'm going to focus on one of many psychological theories about what motivates a person to do something. It's called self-determination theory. I think at the end of the day, our users need to be motivated to play our games. And I'm interested in how we might spark that motivation with our marketing. Self-determination theory states there are three elements working in conjunction that motivate a person to do a thing. The first is competence. When an individual feels competent, they feel they have the skills needed for success. A competent person feels a sense that they can master their environment. If tasks are too challenging, feelings of competence will decrease. Alternatively, if tasks are too easy, the feeling of competence turns to the feeling of a chore. Feelings of competence are at a maximum when the demands of a task are optimally matched to a person's skills. The task cannot appear to be too easy, and the task cannot appear too hard, or else motivation is decreased. The task must make an unconscious promise that you will complete it, and upon doing so will grow as a person. The second part of self-determination theory is relatedness. Relatedness involves feelings of closeness and belonging to a social group. Feelings of relatedness are enhanced when individuals are part of an inclusive environment. Alternatively, feelings of relatedness are undermined by sour competition, cliques, and criticisms. The third factor is autonomy. Autonomy involves being able to make your own decisions. Feelings of autonomy are enhanced when individuals are able to govern their own behavior. Conversely, if they feel controlled or threatened by others or have to operate according to deadlines, the feelings decrease. It's important to note that the feeling of autonomy can also decrease with extrinsic reward. It's actually demotivating if another individual is actively rewarding you for completing a task they want you to complete. Handouts make people feel like they aren't making their own choices. So let's look at that tagline again. The only game dev company you and your friends eventually take over by leveling up your gaming skills in your own way. I have to admit to you now, none of it is true. You aren't going to be taking over a game dev company. No, I simply put that as the tagline to demonstrate how it feels to have the elements of gamification used against you in a marketing message, so we can deconstruct why it made you feel the way it did. There is a challenge. You are taking something over. It's not being handed to you, and you are doing it eventually. It requires effort, but you'll get there. And the challenge seems rewarding, owning your own game dev company, and you are doing it with your skills. That is the feeling of competence. I'm telling you, it's neither too hard nor too easy. This is a challenge not just for you, but for your whole peer group. You're going to do it together, supporting one another. You get to decide how this happens. You have autonomy, and nothing is being handed to you. According to self-determination theory, this is why that tagline grabbed your interest. That's why it sounded like fun, and why you probably felt some subconscious compulsion to learn more. I'm sure it was mixed with some confusion about how that even works, but even then you stuck around. You didn't need to know anything else to feel drawn toward the idea, even if it didn't make sense. And most importantly, you weren't bored and didn't scroll away during the opening credits. You felt some sense of motivation toward a goal that didn't even exist, simply because of the wording of the tagline. So now that we have some basic understanding of this model and how they can be used in a message, let's explore some ideas about how to apply that to a game. Competence. You must show the user in your marketing what the challenge is. And let's be very clear, the challenge is not defeating the big bad. Nobody knows or cares who Gygax, the Destroyer of Worlds, is. Defeating him is not the challenge. The challenge is in your game loop. What that thing is that the player will have to do over and over again to beat the game. That's the challenge. Doing it over and over again. Show that game loop. In Mario, you have to jump from platform to platform, dodging obstacles and enemies. There are many pits and enemies to make you fail, but a clever, skilled person can do it with practice. You must show a challenge and reward, grow your crops and build your dream base, defend your tower and slaughter the horde. And you have a ton of options on how you're gonna do all those Mario jumps and dodge all those enemies. You can wait and time it out, speed ahead, choose this platform or the other, use your fireball or the feather, take the shortcut, go back and earn extra lives. It's up to you. Don't just play the game. Grab a friend and take turns. You can be Mario, he can be Luigi. You are literally playing brothers. You do it together, and when you go to school on Monday after beating the game, you tell all your friends and they think it's awesome. If a person truly believes that those three things are going to happen, they will feel motivated to play your game and beat it. It is your job to convince them that they will. And remember, games are both visual and an auditory medium. Use both to inform the user base. Music and sound effects can go a long way to showing struggle and reward. Visual design can make goals clear and relevant, and videos of social interaction around the game proves to the user that your game exists in a social context. This raises an interesting question. How does a one-player game show they exist in a social context? I was specifically thinking about Avowed and their launch trailer. It doesn't show anything about playing with friends because it's a single-player game. Are they breaking the rules? I would argue no. Games like Avowed come with social context attached to them. It's a AAA game. People are already talking about it. The promise that playing it, watching others play it, criticizing and praising it are built in. Your game doesn't need to be multiplayer to promise a social context. I think it's possible to imply the context with the attention-grabbing detail of your game. When you see a game that looks like it is polished and cool and interesting, it looks novel or clever or intriguing, it kind of tells your brain people will be talking about this. And I think that's enough to satisfy that requirement. I'm thinking of the game Thomas Was Alone, which is a single player, and the exact opposite of something as large as Avowed. Watching the trailer though, it still gives you the feeling of people will be talking about this because of its minimalistic nature, its extreme style. And they even include quotes from reviews to show that people are talking about this. If you can't show true social cooperation around your game, be sure to structure your game so it gives your audience something to discuss and show off that something in your trailers. But before I go, I just want to say there are literally hundreds of different theories around what motivates people to do stuff. Some are much more popular than others, but you don't and probably shouldn't take my word for any of this. Supercharge your game dev marketing by exploring these theories yourself, learning something new, and spreading the word to the rest of the community. Peace.